In today's video, I am going to take you on a little adventure of self-discovery. I think it's finally time to share this. I suffer from OCD. From now on, no rules in my sketchbooks. Hello everyone. I'm in front of a very special cabinet. It's a cabinet that causes me great joy and great agony at times. And today's topic is a little bit strange for me to talk about because it's a totally normal thing, a normal topic, but it's also something that I struggle with so much, more than I feel necessary, more than maybe a lot of artists struggle with. Then again, I can't speak for everyone. But I think it's finally time to share this. And part of the reason I'm making this video is to hold myself accountable. Okay, enough mystery. Let's get into it. So, behind these doors, we have, let's move you over so you can see a little bit better. I know many artists who have tons of sketchbooks, and I don't think that's an issue in itself. My issue is that I have maybe over 20 by now, 20 to 25 sketchbooks that I have started. And you might be thinking, yeah, so just use the sketchbooks. But I have mentioned this a few times in the past in some of my more chatty videos, but I suffer from OCD and mine manifests in strange ways. Like I have to make rules and lists for myself and follow them. And so one of my biggest hurdles with my sketchbook practice is that I have all these now what I think as unnecessary rules for each sketchbook that stops me from using them. Okay, I know this is sounding so weird. Having a rule for a sketchbook isn't really necessarily a bad thing, I guess, but the problem is I have so many different sketchbooks and different rules. And what sparked this whole video, this whole reason I want to talk about this is because during my studio renovation, I finally found all my sketchbooks and put them all in one place pretty much. So I was confronted with the sheer number of sketchbooks. And I found sketchbooks I forgot I had even started. I found old paintings in those sketchbooks that immediately sparked all these wonderful memories. So that was a fun discovery. But it was also just a wow moment of overwhelm when I realized I have over 20 sketchbooks started. Since then, so that was I think April I finished my remodel. So since April, the last 2 to 3 months, my problem has become that when I want to sit down and use a sketchbook, I come to the cupboard of sketchbooks and I start pulling some out and I start looking through them and thinking, oh, this one would be a nice one to work in. Oh, but look at this one. This is also a nice one to work in. Oh, this one's almost done. Maybe I should just use this one and finish it. Oh, this one is just started. Maybe I should get a few more pages into it. And it just goes from there. And I have spent a ridiculous amount of time in the last few months agonizing over what sketchbooks to use. And then we come to my rules. We have things like this where I have this cute little stack of sketchbooks. I adore them. And when I first got them, I decided I needed to make a little rule for myself where I'm only allowed to use these mediums in these sketchbooks. So gouache, graphite, mixed media, and ink. And I have other ones like blue pencil, marker. I have so many different rules and I write them on the spines. And because I wrote that rule, I'm not allowed to break it. Whereas I used to just have a sketchbook that I would open up and do whatever I wanted in it. And there was such a wonderful sense of freedom. You know, I found that I love working in sketchbooks and I started collecting them. It was like a hobby. And then I had so many extra sketchbooks that I felt it was fine to just write rules for different ones. And now I feel overly restricted. And it's becoming an issue because now like I said, I just sit here and I agonize over what I want to do. Like if I sit down and think, I feel like gouache today, I will only allow myself to go find my gouache sketchbooks. And then I start looking at the one next to it and it's an ink sketchbook. And I'm like, ooh, I kind of want to do gouache and ink. So which one do I use? Or do I use both? And then I'm struggling. And I know it's a totally personal, self-imposed problem. And I was thinking, there's no way I'm going to share this with the internet because it just sounds crazy. But I also thought there must be some other people who struggle with something similar, or maybe a version of this, like maybe not as extreme or maybe more extreme. And so I thought I would share my process for how I'm going to deal with this because I have a plan. Yes, I made another list, which was a pros and cons list, and it's helping me figure this out. I also asked someone else, like a third party, like, okay, this is my situation. What should I do? And they were just like, just stack up your sketchbooks that you've started and only allow yourself to use that stack of sketchbooks instead of, starting a new one or making a rule. And then I was like, well, I already have all my rules for my sketchbooks. And so their advice was to just cross off the rules, like to just get rid of the rules. No more rules. So I think that's going to be my plan. And it's going to hurt a little. I have all these things written on the bindings of my sketchbooks. I'm going to cross them out and maybe I'll just put a sticker over them so it doesn't look so ugly. From now on, no rules in my sketchbooks. And I think that will open one of the doors to make it a little easier to just jump right into the sketchbook practice. And, now that I'm saying this out loud, I'm like, I used to have such a free relationship with my sketchbook practice. Like, again, I would just pick one up and go play with it and use it. And I would actually finish way more sketchbooks. Oh, I think that's what sparked this idea to do the video was I had several comments in the last couple months like, hey, I really miss your sketchbook tours. When are you going to post another sketchbook tour? And also comments on my Instagram whenever I share like a page in the sketchbook. And every time I would have to answer, I actually have no finished sketchbooks and it doesn't seem like there's any in sight because I keep starting new ones. So in today's video, I am going to take you on a little adventure of self-discovery, trying to kind of fix my problem. I'm going to take out all my sketchbooks. I'm going to make one pile of sketchbooks that I've started that have something in them, and another pile of unopened sketchbooks. I may need to organize them in some way to keep myself sane, but I will have a place to start at least. And then I'll tell you the plan after that. So let's jump in. I had to think back to the last time I felt truly free in my sketchbook practice, and I think it must be going back to 2023, maybe early 2024 by now. I used to have maybe 2 to 5 sketchbooks going at once, but more often than not, I would wait until one of them was finished before I started a new one. And each of them were different enough so that I didn't have to think too much about why I'd use one or another. Depending on what I was doing in that moment, I would just grab one and go paint or sketch. And before this studio remodel, most of my studio spaces were very scattered and I had a lot of stuff in many different rooms. So it was really easy to misplace things, including my sketchbooks. And I think that led to at least part of this problem. Found you. I knew I had this one. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm not gonna lie. This is a little overwhelming. I mean, I knew it was bad, but like, come on. Psychologically, it is enough to be an issue for me. So we have to address it. Shall I count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 31. It's not like this is harming anyone. It's only really my issue, but like I said, over the last few months, it's been enough of an issue to stop me from doing the thing I love, or in a way that is easy and fun. It's become a chore. You know, and honestly, the only time I find it easy to work in a sketchbook is when I'm outside, because I have one in my bag, I take it out and I use it. There's no guesswork. The struggle comes from packing the bag because I'm like, oh my God, which sketchbook do I use today? And that can take like up to an hour to just pack the bag. I actually found myself using paper blocks or loose sheets of paper way more often in the last few months because this doesn't come into play. You know, it's just a piece of paper. Pick it up and use it. If I didn't address this now, it would just get worse and worse, and I feel like my sketchbook practice would just die off or something. So let's get started with the first step, which is to erase all of the rules. And I'm not gonna, no, we're gonna do that. We're gonna erase the rules. So I'm gonna get a Sharpie or something and stickers and we're just gonna do it. For as long as I can remember, going as far back as I can as an artist, sketchbooks have been my primary way of learning. I am pretty much self-taught. Ultimately, what it comes down to is my growth is a direct result from the sheer amount of pages that I've filled in my sketchbooks. The experimentation, the repetition, trying new things, new color combinations, brushwork, all the different things that go into it. You can actually go back and watch sketchbook tours from when I first started my adventures outside painting, my first watercolor set, my first plein air experiences, all the way up until now, well, more recently, a couple of years ago. And it's just a direct result of that time spent in sketchbooks. It all comes down to brush mileage, and so it was just really concerning me that I was struggling so much to get back into my sketchbooks. I have had a lot of therapy over the years that has helped me see some of my issues and how to work through them. So this video feels really vulnerable because it's me sharing this process, which I usually do in silence. It's just my hope that if anybody else out there struggles with this, even if it's not sketchbooks, maybe it's art supplies in general, that you can maybe see there's a way through it. All right, so these were the major culprits, and I had a few other ones that had pages inside that I had started, like chapters. Like this one I was starting to use it only for swatches, and I just ripped out any page inside the sketchbooks that was like, this is what this is for. Now that the paint is dry, I'm gonna see if the stickers will stay. I used to make my own stickers, so I have a ton of them. Should I just put the same tree on all of them so that they're all equal? Part of my issue is that I will, start a sketchbook, use it, and then make some kind of like post or announcement on Instagram or somewhere, declare what the sketchbook is for. Like this one, I started it, lovely little gouache painting, and I think I posted it and said,
"This is my new gouache sketchbook that I'm going to use only to paint the most beautiful scenes I can find."
And then that instantly put pressure on this sketchbook. And I was like, and I haven't used it since. That was way like early this year. How silly is that? All right, now I have my little forest. And I am already feeling better. So the next steps for me are to organize them, I guess, by paper type, because that is actually something that matters. Because if I'm painting, I need painting paper. If I'm drawing, I don't need fancy paper. I could just use my scribbly sketchbooks. And otherwise, I guess it's just like a matter of size. Size really only comes into play when I'm like hiking, maybe going for a longer walk or bike ride where I want to paint. I would take a really light, like a tiny sketchbook. Or maybe when I'm on the couch, I don't want a big setup. I'll just grab one of these little ones and play. I feel like this is one of those videos that you're gonna either follow and stick around, or you're gonna unsubscribe and never see me again. It's okay. It needs to happen. And in a minute, I'm gonna share how. Hopefully this will hold me accountable. Okay, so we've got drawing. I have had this sketchbook since I moved to Scotland, I think. No one should ever see this sketchbook. Getting sidetracked. Drawing. That's drawing. These are all drawing. Do not paint in those. Oh my gosh, like I forgot I even had this one when I found it during my remodel. I was so excited. Oh my gosh, memories. Riding my bike along the coast. So nice to find these. This is the painting I did last summer, I believe, when Wolfie picked my supplies. He made me paint with my left hand and with a feather. That's a video. You can go watch it. It's ridiculous. So these are my kind of mixed media. This one is the only one that's labeled still because it's a super fancy marker sketchbook. Crescent sketchbook. It doesn't bleed through, even with alcohol markers. It's my marker sketchbook, and I'm okay with that. I need that to be the markers. This one is a Winsor & Newton sketchbook that's kind of just for drawing. And I was using marker on it, but it really bleeds through. And I also don't love how the paper feels because it's perforated. I can just take the pages out. I think I'm going to take them out and then donate this because it will go to better use to someone. Ooh, I like that sound. I only had 3 pages in there, so that's okay. So yeah, this will go to someone. Someone will get use out of that. Oh, I'll need to take my name off of it. Okay, donated over there, out of sight, out of mind. So now we have the painting sketchbooks. The Stillman & Byrne Alpha might be okay for some painting stuff. This one is the Stillman & Byrne Epsilon, and that was okay for watercolor, but I really liked it for drawing. This one is the Beta, which I know I love for drawing and painting because it's a much thicker paper and it does both beautifully. Definitely painting. Hanamulla is one of my new favorites. I absolutely love that sketchbook. All my Etcher sketchbooks are, of course, happy to be painted in. This one is actually almost done. Oh my goodness. Another thing that makes me choose a sketchbook for a session or not is if it's hardcover or softcover. The spiral bound can flip over on itself, and it also is more sturdy, so it's really good in the wind. The hardcover that doesn't flip back on itself is a little more cumbersome, but those have really thick, nice paper in them. My soft covers can flip back on themselves, so that makes them really nice and portable as well. These little guys, no big deal because they're tiny anyway, so they fit in my hand. But this one, I love the bigger size of the Hanamulla, and I have taken it outside a lot, but it does get a bit cumbersome, like a little harder to handle if it's windy especially. So I tend to use that one more inside. These ones are my Strathmore soft cover 100% cotton. They're discontinued. A couple people sent me this size over the last 2 years that they found at like random stores, which is amazing. I think I have like a couple big ones left and maybe 7 to 8 of these, which is awesome. I need to stop like hoarding them. I need to use them. Like that's the point. Again, no rules for myself in that sense. I need to just think, nope, I have a bunch of them. It's fine. I can use them whenever I want. The weird thing is like when I look at this pile, I feel like each one of these is an extension of me because there's pieces of me in them with my painting and drawing. And there's so many memories captured across all of these pages. And there are hundreds of blank pages in front of me right now. Should I count up how many blank pages I have left? Is that ultra insane? No, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna find out. And the grand total, 1,195 pages. Let's circle back to this. I need a little break. Okay, it is the next day. I had to take a beat. I was pretty overwhelmed, I have to admit. I didn't quite see. I was relying on my structure, my system, my rules, all of that. And now I need a new system that offers more freedom. So my plan is to use this magical jar as my system. Let me explain. I'm going to write down the name of all my sketchbooks and I'm going to put them in here. And this is going to sit on my shelf over here. And from now on, anytime I want to paint or draw, I will come over and pick a name out of this jar. And that's the sketchbook I will use. I'm not allowed to question it. I'm just going to do it. The only exception will be if I'm using something specific for a tutorial or like my marker sketchbook for markers, that kind of thing. But otherwise, same goes for when I'm packing my supply bag for plein air. If I'm even questioning it just a little bit, like going back and forth about something, I'll just use this system. I actually might need 2 jars, one for drawing, one for painting. Beige. I think this is too big, so change of plans. Drawing because it's smaller, and painting. Do you think this is gonna work? I think I'm okay with this. So it's kind of been the perfect week to test this new system out because it's been so busy. We are in the midst of fulfilling my recent Kickstarter, and that requires printing thousands of prints and making bookmarks, and the books are about to arrive, I think tomorrow. So we will soon have hundreds of books to go through and sign and package up. And that means I am not devoting as much time to my sketchbooks as I would want to. But that's why this is perfect, because occasionally I find myself with a half an hour to an hour where I just have a bit of free time or I'm taking a break from something and I'm dying to sketch. And normally I would fill that time with just deciding what to use or faffing around with supplies, and this new system has solved that problem. So despite being a really busy week, I am getting a ton of sketchbook time in and I'm loving it. And I think the more I do it, the easier that gets. And I think I foresee a time when I don't need to pick a name out of the jar. I can just walk over to the cupboard and pick one at random. Another thing that really helps, which I have shared in a whole separate video, is to have lots of reference photos pre-printed. I have a big stack of these on my desk at all times. I can just shuffle through them and pull one out at random, or if I'm in a mood for something, like a waterfall, I can sit down with that picture and just sketch. I don't waste time scrolling through hundreds of photos on my iPad or just wondering what to paint. I can just sit down and get started. So that combined with my new sketchbook system is working beautifully. It's currently the beginning of July, which means it's fly season here in Scotland. And also we have a little bit of a heat wave. So I haven't been doing as much plein air in the last 2 weeks, but I get out into the garden when I have a chance. Now, I mentioned earlier that I want to share how I'm going to use this video to hold myself accountable. Part of that is because just by sharing the process, it's putting it out there, and I feel more accountable in that sense. But also, I want to mention that now and then, when I get a chance, I will record some of these sessions and maybe have like a chatty sketchbook video. I know a lot of you have requested that over the last couple of years. I used to do them a lot more, and they have their own specific type of viewer, their own special following, and I always enjoy them because they're very relaxed, and I feel like we can just talk freely, or I can, and you guys talk freely in the comments. It just means that while I'm working more and more in my sketchbooks again, I won't be neglecting YouTube. Like, I won't stop filming things because of that. It can be part of my channel. So I guess it won't be that much different to things I've shared in the past, except that a lot of these sketchbook sessions are less about something specific or not so much a tutorial. They're more just me playing and experimenting and learning. And that'll be fun to kind of share the thoughts I have while I'm doing that. Okay, so I think this video is long enough. I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying your summer, and I'll see you again very soon. All right. Take care.